What's up, knife lovers? Welcome back to BladeStuff. My name is Chad Swindell, and today we're going to look at the Benchmade Bugout. Let's do this. Hey, welcome back. Let's go ahead and jump right in here. We're going to look at the Benchmade Bugout today. This is made in Oregon City, Oregon, in the great United States of America. Now first, let me go ahead and explain the process. We're going to divide this review up into three different categories. Number one, in pocket. This is where we talk about all of the specs, the retrieval, that sort of thing. The second is going to be in hand. That's where we talk about the ergos, the deployment, the fidget factor. And the third one, in action. This is where we talk about what the knife is really made of and if we can depend on it when we need it. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing. Let's go into the in-pocket category and let's get a weight on this guy. 1.88 ounces. This thing is extremely light. It's ridiculously light, actually. It almost feels like you don't have anything in your pocket at all. Let's look at the closed length. Okay, we're at about 4 3/16 on that. And the closed width, 1 1/4 inches. The thickness of this thing, though. Look at the thickness. 0.389 inches. Super slim. I can tell you, after carrying this in my pocket, as I've mentioned already, you hardly even know that it's in your pocket. This means if you're carrying your wallet or your phone, who knows, maybe both in the same pocket, this guy's probably not going to get in the way of that. It doesn't take up a lot of space at all. All right, so let's look at the clip. This is what they consider a mini deep carry clip. So you can tell that it's a deep carry, and it's not as long as your normal clips. That's why they call it the mini. It has a good ramp on it, doesn't get in the way of other things. It's got good knife retention, so I'm actually pretty impressed with this little mini clip. Now in regards to retrieval, it's not bad at all, actually. The scales have a texture to them, even though it's not the grippiest knife I've had. It's definitely got enough to where you can grab that thing and get it out of your pocket. And let's be honest, I mean, with weighing as much as it doesn't take much to get this thing out of your pocket. Overall opinion of the in-pocket category: it's light, it's slender, it's got a good clip on it, checks all the boxes on the in-pocket category. So now let's talk about in-hand. One of the first things we talk about in this category is the ergonomics. Let's start with the scales. What are the scales made of? Now, I will tell you, this is one of the biggest complaints, if you will. If you're looking into this knife and you're reading reviews, you're going to find a lot of people that complain about this. So what are the scales made of? Well, according to Benchmade, they're made of Grivery. Now, I had never heard of Grivery, so I looked it up. What is Grivery? Well, it's a thermoplastic synthetic resin of the polyamide or nylon family. I was surprised to read that Grivery is used a lot in the manufacture of technical components, and some of the characteristics that it has is high levels of stiffness and strength, good dimensional stability, and low warpage. So since we're in the in-hand category, we got to talk about how it feels. As far as feel is concerned, I do have to agree with a lot of the other people out there that have reviewed these things. Honestly, they feel like plastic. So when you're holding this thing closed and grip in your hand, there are no sharp edges. It's comfortable. In an open grip, it's also very similar to that. It's actually got a pretty comfortable grip to it. It fits the hand pretty well. I've got a large hand. I've got all 4 fingers on that grip. I can feel the clip on my hand right there, but it's not really too bad at all. So it's overall a pretty comfortable grip. It's a little bit small, maybe for my liking. And maybe it's just the thinness, I don't know, maybe it's the weight even, maybe it's just a mental thing, but the grip is actually fairly comfortable. Balanced weight on this, so it's got a pretty good balance to it. So now let's talk about deployment and action a little bit. So it's thumb stud opening, just like that. It actually fires pretty well. I find it a little bit harder to open left-handed, and I think that's mainly because of the size of this, because I have to kind of adjust my grip to make sure that the knife doesn't come out of hand. But you can open it with either hand, and of course the clip is reversible. You can put the clip on the other side for a left-handed carry as well. But it actually deploys pretty good. And the shutting action is a little bit tight. You know, typically you can pull the axis lock down and just they shut very smoothly, but I really think that's the coating on the blade. It's got the gray coating on that blade, and I think that once that wears in a little bit against the washers, I really think that that's not going to be a problem at all. Okay, so now let's talk about aesthetics. So how does it look? How does it feel? How does it sound? You know, that sort of thing. Is it fidgetable? Let's start with the looks. How does it look? Well, to be honest, to me, it's kind of simple looking. It's not offensive, but it's got a pretty decent look to it. Even though I may not consider the overall design extremely appealing, I sure wouldn't say that it was appalling by any means. It's a decent looking knife. Now, one of the things that I like the color combination. So you got the Ranger green scales on this thing, and then the blade has got that dark gray coated blade. But one of the things that actually really makes it pop to me is the gold thumb studs and the gold standoffs. Now, the blade centering on this guy is actually pretty good. Now, as far as the feel, this is normally where we talk about, okay, does it feel like a toy or a tool? Is it bulky? Is it frail? That kind of thing. And since we're talking about feel, then I'm gonna have to be honest and say that it does feel a little bit frail. It's still a tool, don't get me wrong, but it does feel a little bit frail, and that is strictly due to the scale material that they used on this thing. It may be extremely durable, I don't know. I haven't put it to hard use yet, but we're talking about feel. That's what this category is about, is feel. And if I'm honest, it just feels a little bit frail. Blade play. Okay, it's fairly solid. I can feel just a little bit of blade play on that, and a little bit of lock rock. So I got a little bit of rocking there as well. It actually has a pretty decent sound for the size of the knife. It actually doesn't sound bad at all. I definitely have to kind of compensate how I'm holding it when I deploy it, just because of the size. It's just a little bit smaller than I'm used to. So overall, in the in-hand category, you know, is this a knife that you're going to play with, you're going to fidget with? And I would have to say yes, but I would probably give it a 6.5 out of 10 maybe, because, well, for example, if I had, you know, 4 other knives on the table and I had my choice of what knife that I'm going to be playing with, this wouldn't be my first choice. Okay, let's move on to the in-action category. This is the big one. This is the one where we talk about what the knife is made of and can you depend on it. So let's start with the locking mechanism. This is Benchmade's Axis lock system, and it is ambidextrous, so you can reach it from that side or, of course, the other side. And it has double thumb studs as well, so it's a complete ambidextrous knife. To kind of give you a little idea how that Axis lock works. So you can see that this bar goes completely through there, and right now that's offering just a little bit of pressure on that blade to keep it closed. Watch what happens when I open the blade. Okay, it moves that back. And there's a groove in the blade when it gets to the open. And then it clicks into the open position. From the side. And that's how it locks. So to unlock it, of course, you're going to pull back on the Axis lock, which frees that blade up. Okay, now let's talk about blade steel. They've used CPM S30V in this. S30V is good steel. It was developed in 2001 by Crucible, and it's actually one of the rare cases that the steel was actually designed for cutlery. As a matter of fact, there was a lot of knife makers that were involved in aiding in the help of that design as well. And it is considered one of the premium mainstream cutlery steels. It is not extremely hard to sharpen, and it does have decent edge retention. So speaking of the blade, it has a drop point blade, and I particularly am a fan of drop point blades. So I like the blade shape. It's got a nice little swedge on the top there. It's got some flat there as well, so if you're using any guided sharpening systems, you're going to be able to get it sharpened without a problem. Speaking of that, it's got a sharpening tool right there, so I see no sharpening challenges whatsoever with this knife. Okay, so now let's talk about the grip. Once again, now remember, we're in the action category now. So now we're not just talking about is it comfortable, but we're talking about how durable is it going to be. So if you needed to use your knife in a hard manner, are you going to be able to count on this knife to do it? So in regards to that grip, it's not bad, and I would not be afraid to use it hard if I had to. Okay, I would be most concerned about the scales. Now they're supposed to be durable, I get that, but they do feel like plastic, so that is concerning to me. You can kind of see that this interior liner on here only goes down to right there where that screw is. Okay, that does have a little bit of jimping on the back. I do like the fact that they've added a little bit of jimping there, and but that liner stops right there, and then the rest of the knife is strictly dependent upon the scale material. And so that is a little bit concerning to me, but I would still use this hard if I had to. I must be honest with you though, if I knew that I was gonna need a hard user for a particular day, this isn't the one that I would put in my pocket. Now, that being said, does that mean it doesn't have a place in your regular rotation? No, not necessarily. Most of the time I actually carry more than one knife. This would work pretty decent for a secondary, and I've carried it as a secondary some already because it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's very light. You can put it in another pocket and not even realize that it's there. So it would work really good for a secondary or backup. Now there are all kinds of people out there that would carry this for a primary, and that's great. It's just not really my style is what I'm saying. This would also be really good. You can put it in a backpack. It's not gonna add a whole lot of extra weight to your pack. It's not gonna take up a whole lot of room, and you're gonna have a knife that you're gonna be able to use and should be able to depend on. Okay, so now that we've talked about the in-pocket, the in-hand, and the in-action categories, we can determine that this is not a bad knife. Now, I feel that it may be a little bit overpriced for what you get, but there's a lot of popularity out there with this knife. A lot of people really, really like it. It's not a bad knife. Thank you very much for watching our video of the Benchmade Bugout today. I certainly hope that you have enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button down below. Leave us a comment. It does help our channel when you interact with us. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. And for those of you that already have, thank you so very much for being part of the family. I couldn't do this without you. You guys rock. Please look us up on Instagram, give us a follow there, and there's more content coming, so stay tuned. God bless. See you next time. Keep it sharp.